It's not a cigarette.
This is supposed to be.
All right, y'all. Good to see everybody.
I gotta keep a rubber band on, otherwise.
Let's do this. All right. So the on-air sign is on. So hopefully somebody will get those doors. Today, this passage is a really fun passage to talk about, and that's a good thing. It's also a bad thing because when it gets to sermon time, you start going, okay, what am I actually gonna preach on? So it's not a 45, 50-minute sermon, You just go, okay, so you got to pick something in there and go with it. So today we call this the feeding of the 5,000, which is kind of an interesting thing when we get to Matthew's version of the gospel, because it's not actually, we'll get to that when we get to that. But fun facts for you to share at dinner parties, to impress your friends. And with this is what folks in my world call a miracle story. You know why they call it a miracle story? Because there you go. Woo! See, not trying to fool anybody with anything I'm doing.
There you go.
I mean, this is just a straightforward thing. It's called a miracle story because it's a miracle. Okay? So, there's one miracle story that's in all four Gospels. You want to take a guess? It's this one. Right, there you go. Okay. See? Not trying to fool anybody with anything we're doing here. We're just straightforward. You want to learn this information. We don't want to trick you. This is it. This is the one story, the one miracle story that's in all four Gospels. So, as we've talked about before, if it's in all four Gospels, the early church thought this was an important story. Okay? So, again, think about it this way. The nativity is in two Gospels. This story is in 4. The early church thought much more about this than they thought about nativity. Of course, they didn't, have a bunch of department stores and have to sell stuff, so it wasn't even important. So here we are. This is an important story because, we'll talk about, those different aspects of it. Also so important, think about it this way too. 2 Gospels, Matthew and Mark, in just another chapter or 2 over, tell another similar story that's called the feeding of the 4,000. They tell it twice. Not the same story. Now people will write books about it's the same story, it's not the same story. But it's in 2 separate locations. This one's more in a Jewish area, and the second story is more in a Gentile area. But still, you have this notion of Jesus interacting with people and feeding hungry people. And so important that all 4 Gospels include this story. They tell it in a little different way, especially John. Of course, John's always telling stories different ways. But they talk about this story here and why it's so important. And then Matthew and Mark, again, another chapter or so over, basically hit it again. And guess what? Interesting fun fact is when you get to those stories and the disciples again, just a couple of chapters over, they have the same struggles that they have with this one. So, tells us what about the disciples?
They haven't learned anything.
They don't learn anything. Which, again, let me always caution you about dissing on the disciples because we have seen the enemy and it is us. So, anytime we're talking about them, we are talking about us. That's just the way the story plays out. Okay.
You've got a longer title on your sermon than you had 3 years ago. If I'm not mistaken,
Wow.
August 6th,
I did not know that.
August 6th of 2000. at 23. I might be wrong, but I think you said the title of the sermon was Scraps.
Scrap. Oh yeah, okay, because that was from the John's Gospel.
Okay, I want to be clear on this. I just threw that in
He
there.
thought he might have been on the wrong day.
Outside of that, I don't have any notes here in Matthew's outside of that.
And here's the crazy thing about that, y'all. I know I normally when you say, "Hey, that sermon such," I'm like, I don't know. That sermon, I actually remember some of that because of the story that I told. Okay.
I just want to say, welcome back, Vance.
Well, I just happen to have.
Okay. I just would like to say we're on the air. Okay. Gospel of Matthew. Okay, here we go. 13 through what, 21? Here it is. Now, when Jesus heard this, and we'll get back to that, he withdrew from there in a boat to a deserted place by himself. But when the crowds heard it, they followed him on foot from the towns. And when he went ashore, he saw a great crowd, and he had compassion for them and cured their sick. And when it was evening, the disciples came to him and said, "This is a deserted place, and the hour is now late. Send the crowds away, so that they may go into the villages and buy food for themselves." And Jesus said to them, "They need not go away. You give them something to eat." And they replied, "We have nothing here but 5 loaves and 2 fish." And he said, "Bring them here to me." And then he ordered the crowds to sit down on the grass. Taking the 5 loaves and the 2 fish, he looked up to heaven, and he blessed, and he broke the loaves, and he gave them to the disciples, and the disciples gave them to the crowds. And all ate and were filled. And they took up what was left over of the broken pieces, 12 baskets full. And those who ate were about 5,000 men, beside the women and children. Familiar? Okay, good. Yeah, so, what you hear?
Well, it says more than feeding the 5,000, but apparently there's more than that.
Yeah. For Matthew's gospel, there is more than that. You're absolutely right. Let's see. Somebody can tell me how Mark kind of?
Mark says just God doesn't mention
Yeah,
women.
women or children, right? And so yeah, there are at least. So what could we say? 10,000, maybe even more.
Yeah.
With the children, there might be more.
Yeah, all those little kids running around out there,
Not listening.
getting near your guitar equipment. But we were blessed. Okay, so
Yeah, we're on there.
I know we're on there.
I got that down.
So here we are. Jesus, what's he coming off? Because now when Jesus heard this, you have to do what Phil does, and that's go back and read the previous story. So what did he hear prior to this to make him want to get away from everybody?
John the Baptist.
There you go. Thank you. See, we're not trying to fool anybody here. Taking an exam with me as a teacher was so easy, and yet people fail so much. Here you go. He comes off this story, and think about it from Matthew's Gospel version, who John the Baptist was. In Matthew's Gospel, he tells him, "Hey, this is your cousin." Early on, you find out. So he's related. He's the one who pointed at Jesus and said, "This is the guy. I'm not even worthy to tie his sandals." And so he's just been executed for doing his job. And so Jesus is somewhat sad, right? That's expected, right? When you lose somebody that you're close to, that you have respect. So what does Jesus want to do?
Be by himself.
Be by himself.
And he does that a lot.
And Jesus does do that a lot. And he does try to get away, and there's really nothing absolutely wrong with trying to do that and to have breaks to be apart. So here, and I did I remember an early sermon of one of my friends who preached this about and used this as a passage of getting away. Well, it's a good thing to take off. Except what happens here?
They follow him.
He doesn't get away. The one guy in this story who needs a break, they're like, I'm going to follow
And then they tell him these people's hungry.
him. Yeah. And what does it say about Jesus, though, about them? He looks at him and says, he has compassion. And I love Mark's gospel here, but I'm not preaching Mark's gospel today, so I don't get to talk about it except for in here. He looks at them and they were like sheep without a shepherd. What a great image. Not a nice image about those people, but or us either. But he doesn't just have empathy for them. He doesn't just feel sorry for them. He has compassion for them. Something deep within him is hurting for them. And so here's someone who's going through something himself, and yet he's faced with all these people. And then you get to this part about the disciples, and people like me and my sort, we might be hard on the disciples, going, yeah, look at them trying to ditch all these people. But I guess maybe it's I'm getting older, and I'm having more empathy for the disciples all these years because you get hard on them for all the goofy mistakes they made. And you start looking back and see all the goofy mistakes you make. But maybe they're not so much, trying to change these people, but they're just being practical. There's nothing out here. We got nothing. What do? We got to send them on their way.
They don't know that Jesus is going to perform a miracle.
Well, yeah. They're like, okay, hold on, we're gonna get there. Jesus is gonna do something crazy. You're right. It's like they're not, but they're just being practical, right? It's like I always say, they're being really good Presbyterians. Presbyterians will go, now preacher, we got to think about this. Now we got the budget. We got to think about, and there are. I mean, first of all, if you've got 5,000 men plus however many more, you go, what can you do here?
I mean, that wasn't the only miracle, because he said he had compassion and he
Yeah.
healed their sick, and
Right.
this was just the grand finale.
Yeah.
He was doing stuff
Yeah.
all day.
Yeah. He's teaching, he's healing, he's doing all that. And two other, I know John's gospel and maybe it's Mark's gospel says, they bring up the money thing. They're real Presbyterians. they really want to talk about the money. So this would cost more than 200 denarii just to give them a little. So, I guess now at a different age, looking at the disciples, I don't look at them so much going, boy, they sure really were just trying to jump out, and get away from all this. But they're probably just being practical. There's not a whole lot we can do about this. And then Jesus says, interesting thing here, right? Anybody notice what he does? He doesn't just do the miracle.
He collects what's left over also.
Well, he includes the disciples in this. He said, they don't need to go away. You give them something to eat. You do it. That's an interesting approach here, huh? And suddenly the room gets very quiet. He says to the disciples, you give him something.
Well, what was his purpose in telling the disciples, you give them something? But what was the immediate,
That's what I'm asking you. Go ahead.
well, Okay, so the response, I don't know.
Go for it.
Well, the response he was trying to get from them was for them also to step out of their mortality and look at these people with compassion. But I don't know if I don't know if disciples had been doing miracles on their own prior to this. I don't really know. Did they have a background in being able to heal people? Had he been given them that authority yet?
We'd have to go
Well,
back.
They had skills, I mean,
Yeah.
several of them were fishermen, and he just came out, I'm like,
Or is he preparing them for what they're gonna have to do when he's gone?
Well, to me, when he tells them that, he's setting them up for, I'm gonna do a miracle here.
Yeah.
All we got is these few fish and these little loaves of bread. And then Jesus takes it and multiplies it and then feed them. I think he was setting them up to really understand the power that he has.
And here's another part of it. This is the Reformed tradition view of how we understand this. God does not need us at all. And yet, God does offer us the invitation to be included in the miracle. Y'all give him something to eat. Jesus could have just said, God, you guys are pathetic. And he does say that to them sometimes. Like, oh my gosh, what's wrong with y'all?
All the
But
That's
then-
why he had to go off by himself. So he
Yeah,
could
yes, I
get
know.
away
Oh,
from
well.
the human
All
power.
the
Yeah,
twelve on shows.
yeah, he's out there. Yeah, it says he's praying, but he's really out there yelling. What? But here he offers this wonderful invitation for them to come be a part of this miracle. Not that he needs it, but he invites us to be involved and engaged. And so I have to tell you something. This is one more time this whole week I felt really goofy, because you go, how many years have I been reading this story? And how many years have I been working on this and thinking about this passage? And then get to this and all these years later read something and go, I have never seen that before. Verse 17, and they replied, we have nothing here but 5 loaves and 2 fish. And how it starts off in the text and the language, that the first thing they say is, we have nothing. We have nothing. They had something. They didn't have nothing. They didn't have a lot, but they didn't have nothing. And so this part you get twice. You get it here and you get it in the sermon too.
That wouldn't have been enough to feed Brad before he.
Wow. Wow. Okay, now
Don't write that down.
we're on the air. Yeah. I'm going to write that down. 3 years ago, man said.
Fan this right
Couldn't
here.
I love you, man. That is good stuff. You're right. It's not a lot. And John's gospel, if you remember, John does this other twist on this story. But again, I'm not preaching on John today, so that ain't in the sermon. But he brings the little kid into it. The little kid brings out his lunchbox,
Right.
which I picture in my head one of those little metal lunchboxes I had when I was a kid. A Batman one. I always wanted a Batman one. Did my parents get me that? No. They got me a plaid one. It was plaid. I was like, what is that? That is not Batman. So I've just carried that hurt with me for so
Wow.
Moving on. But I see this kid pulls out his lunchbox and there's his food. But here, we're not told how they have it. But again, they start off with I have nothing but this. Trajectory to modern day church. How often do we say about ourselves as individuals and about ourselves as a congregation, you know, we just don't have enough to do that. We just don't have it. I don't have enough in me to do that. We don't have enough to do that. And that's where they start. They start with, we can't do this. And so often, as the church, that's where we start with, I've got nothing. Well, you do have something. You don't have enough. Yeah, you don't have enough. And what does Jesus do? Bring it here. Bring what you have. Bring what you have. Don't bring what you hoped you had, or what you wished you had, or what you might have had, or what somebody else has. Bring what you have. Bring it here. And he blesses it. And again, another thing, haven't thought about all these years. What's he do? Does Jesus give it out to everybody? He gives it back to the disciples. And then the disciples give it to them. So you have this interesting aspect that the disciples never give what they don't have or what they haven't been given by Christ. This progression of ministry here is amazing for us all, that they have what little they have, not nothing, but something. They give it to Christ. He blesses it, gives it back to them, and then they go out from there. It's never they're given of their own selves. They're given what they've been blessed with first. The church is blessed first. Like, crazy, for instance, just hypothetical. People who get up on a Sunday morning, come sit in a sanctuary and talk about the text, and then sit and worship together, receiving from God, and then going back out into the world. That's the same image here that they're doing. They're bringing what little they have, or what they think might be little, giving it to God. God gives it back to them, and then they go out into the world and face a world where there are a lot of people who are hungry for one thing or another. It's up to the church as disciples. Oh, goodness gracious. It's up to the church as disciples are here to decide, are we just going to go, we got nothing. Let's just sit here and send them all away. Or are we going to do what Jesus did and say, you don't have nothing. Yeah, you obviously don't have enough for all these people. But let's take what you have and let's bless it and then go back out. And you might just be surprised.
I
With
see
what
that with
happens.
our tithe. Every time we tithe, bring what we have, and let the church bless it and use it to do God's work.
Right.
And it's always multiplied.
Right. Well, and in any ministry we have here, we go, hey, we're this church out on this corner. When I was growing up, this is way out yonder. Well, we ain't way out yonder no more, okay? Anymore. Sorry, my wife would be really upset I used double negative, but I like double negatives. But you know, anybody wants to go, well, we're just out in the country. You come here at 8 o'clock in the morning or at 5 o'clock in the afternoon and sit here at this stuff like, you're not out in the country. Okay? So, but we're this church, and we go, well, you know, this is a big world. There's a lot of things out there, a lot of need. Maybe we're not going to solve every problem.
This makes me think, I keep thinking about the food bank.
Yeah?
My 10 cents doesn't do anything,
Yeah?
except that it does because other people are
Yeah.
putting that little bit in too. That seems like,
Yeah. Yeah, go downstairs and look, you know? And look at you know, they're able to do a lot with what people, and it's basically 13 churches and neighborhoods and all that's, and people got, it's interesting too when people walk up to the door and they bring food in and they want, and you know, I go open the door or whatever and they say, well, I've just got this little bit, and I was like, thank you, because if you don't do this, we can't do what we do. And so the issue here is today, how are we going to look at it? Are we going to look at it like the disciples did and said, in the scarcity, we don't have enough? Or are you going to look at it like Jesus did, and Jesus looked at the people and said, and had compassion for them?
Before we close, could I just, there's one, the first parts of this passage is what I believe, take interest in, and it's when, so Jesus went away and wanted to be alone. And to me, I don't think that isn't so much grieving, but anytime that he's doing something, it's something that he goes away, he's wanting to get alone and commune with God. He's wanting where he can sit there and talk to God privately, without distractions. I mean, that's an important part of this lesson here, is that Jesus always wants to get away and get God's understanding and will of what's going on.
Sure. There is a time that we're all called to, you know, Jesus talks about going into your prayer closet and these kind of things about being set aside. And in here, he ultimately doesn't get that, because by the time he gets there, they're already there. I mean, and that also behooves me too. Like, okay, so he's going by boat, and they all go by land, and they get there before him. I'm like, well then, why did he do that for? Why didn't he just walk? I mean, if he could get there that quick, I don't know. That part of the story always makes me go, huh, that's interesting. But nonetheless, here Jesus is, and he's in this moment with these people, and he offers this opportunity for the disciples to come be a part. No, they don't have enough, but they do have a little. And are we going to trust God to take what we have and share it to who knows what comes from that? That's kind of where we are in the story. What are we going to do with that as a congregation, as individuals? And does this mean that every time we turn around we have to be doing something? I would take a little caution about that, because there are other passages that call for us to do other things. But today, this story calls for us to think about, how do we participate in the invitation that God has given us to approach things as disciples. Take what little we have and share it that's blessed by God, and trust that that's enough. Because it's still Christ doing the miracle, but he's inviting us to be in a part. And that is a wonderful thing, isn't it? I mean, when we do the things that we do as a congregation in our community, when we do grief share, y'all open your doors to grief share. Most of y'all don't have a lot of contact with that, and nor do I, really. But yet, it has been this incredible ministry for longer than I've been here, that really touches people in their moments of real hurt and grief. And we don't see, you never see a lot of return on that. And I want to be really careful how I say that. But that a lot of people who have these really hurtful places in their life, where maybe they've lost a spouse or lost a child, or just are hurting in their lives, have a space where they can come to and have people there for them in their moments of grief. And this congregation offers that to them. And that's huge. You might go, that's not much. But when you're going through grief, think about that. That, you know, we're providing that space for somebody else who may not have the family or the connections or the friends or the fellowship to embrace that. And that's huge, I think. That's a great place that we connect with people in our community. That might be 5 loaves and 2 fish to some people, but it's changes people's world perspective. So I think that's a great ministry we offer, and a lot of other ones too, but that we just keep doing what we're doing and figuring out ways to continue to take what little we think we have and let God bless it and keep going. Who knows? It's, God will take it from there. It's just how we want to approach the world. Let's pray. Gracious God, we give thanks for passages that challenge us, help us to see the world from a different perspective, where you saw the world in compassion. The disciples and sometimes can see the world with scarcity, and may we be challenged to see the world through your eyes and know that it's not by our own doing, it's by what you're doing through us. May we be faithful. It's in your name we pray.